like in the case of visualization or the generation phases of, or fulfillment phases of practice, such as working on yoga of subtle energies or deity visualizations. This is present in other spiritual tradition also. But in the Buddhist tradition, what makes these practices, methods, exceptionally profound is when they are joined by the understanding from the view of emptiness and the application of bodhicitta that goes with it, because that can bring about the realization of ultimate liberation, that is Buddhahood. So in essence, in applying the practice of the Dharma, it is important that the practice is complete as far as the beginning or the aspiration aspect is concerned, as far as the main body of the practice, and the conclusion, also the dedication aspect of it. So in this way, what makes it a complete practice. In the teachings of Shakyamuni Buddha, that one should focus on learning, reflection and practice, meditation. And that also, the purpose of learning and reflection primarily being to be able to apply them into practice. So the principal among them is practice of meditation. While there are numerous different aspects of meditation, primarily it falls into the two classification of Shine practice of meditation of calm abiding and Laktung practice of meditation of great insight. And now, when doing the Shine and Laktung practice of meditation also, it is extremely important that one does it with the proper aspiration, and that is aspiration of Bodhicitta, that it should be joined by Bodhicitta aspiration. It is not sufficient that in the name of doing meditation that one's body is straight and the hands are in the meditation posture with the eyes closed, and yet bodhicitta is absent and not sufficient. For instance, there's that animal, what is it called? Groundhog, and it is said that even groundhog stays inside under the sort of dugout hole underground for whole of a winter, and yet that doesn't help because there is no bodhicitta taking place. So in this way, the practice of meditation, again in order that it leads towards realization of liberation, one must make sure it's joined by bodhicitta. So in this way, that one must understand in the path of the great vehicle, that essence of the practice, or the nature of the practice, must be the inseparability of emptiness and compassion. As such, the practice of bodhicitta being the most important, and in developing bodhicitta, what conditions must be present is essentially the twofold conditions of loving kindness and compassion. And so now if I give a brief explanation on the first one, that is loving kindness. The example would be how a good mother raises one's child. And given the possibility, these days not all the mothers are being good, in the case of a good, kind mother, and how such a mother raises one's only child. And one raises one's child with so much love, so much affection, and always concerned about the child's happiness, the child's well-being. And whatever physical, tedious, urges, activity one has to go through, however long it means, or that even if it is at the risk of one's life, that one is willing to do anything and everything for one's child, the giving of one's possessions and so forth. And so, this is talking about in the case of a good mother. And there may be others who are not particularly that good, and some even, spanks one's child, whatever. So, anyway, in the case of a good mother, so we can think in that spirit of the relationship of a good mother to her only child. And in a way that we can see that we have that kind of relationship with all beings. That all beings are, you can say, our mothers. In that, a great many beings have been our mothers in the past, and a great many of them are our mothers presently, and then the great many will be our mothers in the future. So in this way, in the course of the 3 times, that there's possibility that all beings are our parents, our mother. And in the relationship that we have with the kind mother that we've talked about, now who is in this suffering. So therefore, having a genuine and heartfelt wish for the happiness and well-being, and such heartfelt, and that it is to the point of being unconditionally heartfelt. And so that kind of attitude for the happiness and well-being, that is loving kindness. And having the attitude of loving kindness in a way that whether one has to give the use of one's body, one's possessions, and whatever merit or virtue one has accumulated in the course of 3 times, that one genuinely wish to use them for the benefit of beings, so that beings experience happiness and well-being. So that is developing the mind of loving kindness. And when one trains oneself again and again, consistently, in the outlook of this particular attitude of loving kindness, as a result of consistent, genuine training, that one day it is definitely possible one would have very genuine outlook of loving kindness. And it is even possible that one can have immeasurable loving kindness. And so, in this way, just as an ideally good mother does everything out of kindness to her child, in that way we also should train ourselves. And also it can be said that when a mother is so loving and so kind to her only child, she doesn't see any faults in the child. She only sees virtues. She never sees his or her faults and limitations, only good qualities. Saying, oh, my child has this kind of quality, wonderful quality, that kind of wonderful quality, education, what have you. And it is possible that through training in loving kindness, gradually, we also can begin to see that way in connection with sentient beings, that we don't see the faults and the limitation of sentient beings, that we only see the good qualities and beneficial qualities of sentient beings. And as such, when we have trained our mind in this way, and then whatever harm and harsh words are directed towards one cannot get carried away by them, or that this wouldn't harm, which means that one can bring them on the path towards training in loving kindness. And as it's said, that bringing of adverse circumstances on the path of training, so it is possible for one to do that. And so, in our world, of course, there are relationships of family relationship, parents, siblings, and relatives, and friends. And when one's relatives or friends or family members are facing whatever difficulties, and there's a sort of culture generally of helping each other out, supporting in times of need, whatever is to make somebody happier, to assist in somebody's needs. So anyway, there is this sort of culture, there is the what's happening is the habit of helping each other out. And so, from the point of view of loving kindness, we should extend this kind of attitude, the activity of helping out outside of our immediate relationships or relatives. From the point of view of that, from the Buddhist point of view, we are all related to each other, and that other beings are also, in one way or the other, at one time or the other, are our relatives.